often should you be checking on your general contractor during the rehab? Once your general contractor is hired, the plans are laid out, everything is priced, and now it's time to let the contractor do their thing. And should you leave them alone? No. This is perhaps one of the most common things I see that destroys profits and can sink your entire deal. Let's talk about it and how you should really be checking in with your contractor. So as we talk about this with general contractors, I'm gonna make a few assumptions. I'm gonna assume that you have a scope of work. I'm gonna assume that scope of work is detailed, and I'm gonna assume that it has pricing for each line item. So as work is getting done, that's how it will be paid out. I'm also gonna assume you didn't pay the contractor 50% up front. So we're gonna start with that fundamental basis, okay? So if you're not doing those things, go do those. Okay, so then we're gonna talk a little bit about having that signed, and we're also gonna talk about having a services agreement, which basically says that the contractor will warrant their work for so much time after they do it. They'll do workmanship like quality, and then also an agreement that talks about how they're getting paid and how the draw schedule works. So I'm assuming those things are in place, okay? So the question is, if those things are in place and the contractor's getting going on the job, how frequently should we be there? Well, there's some problems that can happen. So let's just talk about them. One of the things that can happen with contractors is they don't show up, or they get lazy, or it's hunting season, or whatever, and they are not coming on the job because the reason that's important to you is it's expensive. Every single day that goes by, whether you're paying it out of your pocket or it's accruing, is interest. And that is money that is expensive, and you want to not pay that as much as possible. You want to keep as much of the money in profit that you possibly can. One of the things that I like to do is I like to put a time schedule together. I sit down with the contractor and say, what are we doing week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, and what can be done at the same time and what has to wait for something else. It's called a dependency. So it's like, hey, I can't put in carpet until we paint. You know, I can't paint until we sheetrock. I can't sheetrock, until we have the studs up, or whatever the case is. But there's dependencies. So I'm putting those all in, and we're saying this is what we're planning on getting done in week 1. We put the plan together. This is when we plan on the work being done. I'm going to the job site and I want to make sure, one, somebody's there and working on it. I also on a week by week basis, at a minimum, want to be to the property. And while I'm doing that, I want to be seeing the work versus what was supposed to be done. And simply asking, why didn't it get done if there's things that were missing, and putting that on next week's so we can say we got to make up for that next week so it doesn't just keep rolling and taking longer and longer. Now, even if you're not on site and you're doing this remotely, you still are going to want to have at least a once a week walkthrough. I recommend going a little bit more because I can tell you I've had multiple times where I've showed up to a job site and the carpet wasn't the color we thought, or the paint was wrong, or whatever the case is. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? And we bring up the paperwork, and sure enough, they didn't do what they were supposed to. Now, I know it seems like I'm ragging on general contractors. I'm actually not. I like to take the paperwork and the stress of those things away from the general contractor. I type up my bids. I type up the scope of work. I type up all the agreements. I type up the plan as what's happening by week. I do all of that. What I need from the contractor is pricing, help establishing the scope and what we need, and then timelines. What can we get done when? I take care of all that, and that puts us on the same page, okay? So you really want to be involved in some early discussions. One of the things I've seen a lot of new real estate investors, and even some seasoned ones, they go to the job, the quality doesn't look that good, and they say, should I say something to the contractor because he's a little scary or whatever? And the answer is yes. If something looks like it's off, you should say it now. It's going to be a lot less expensive to fix now than it is going to be fixed later on. So which is the other reason you want to be there at least once a week. I'm going to give a little extra tip that I think you should be aware of. This is one of the things I like to do. I give my contractor a bonus if he's done early, and I give him a penalty if he is done late. So let's just basically say this. Let's say that the cost of hard money on this deal is $150 a day. What I tell the contractor is, hey, I'll give you $75 a day extra for every day you get it done. And I'm going to charge you $300 a day, which is double the hard money cost for what you're late. I want to give him a carrot and I want to give him a stick. The reality is it's costing me so much money to have the contractor not getting done when he's supposed to. Now, you're gonna say, well, what about permits and what about time? I build that into the schedule. I plan on time for permits. I plan on time for deliveries. I plan on those types of times. I am not trying to get the contractor into a bad situation. What I wanna do is get a realistic time frame that's going to work for everybody so I can make plans and get my property on the market. I mean, let's say I was putting my property on the market, I was planning on springtime, and the contractor takes too long and I miss the whole spring season. That could be a difference in pricing. I can potentially get a lower price for the property because prices tend to slide down a little bit in the fall and in the winter. Now, that's not always the case, but it's something that could really be hurting you. Now, I put together a video, the 13 steps to a successful fix and flip. Where should you actually start when doing fix and flips? Setting your roadmap to actually get your first deal, and what are the most overlooked parts of a fix and flip? Check out this video, you're going to love it. Make it a profitable day.